Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Hi, it's DJ. I'm doing a class today. It's a safety training, and it's a it's a good one. It's on solving problems when you're mad. So it happens sometimes. We are in tough situations. Sometimes um, that, that it feels like you can't really control the situation, and so there are good ways of solving these problems with it can be people in your house. It could be people at program. It could be people. It could be friends. Um, Even if you have a job or something, it's somebody you work with. Um, but sometimes there are ways, though. Like sometimes you can kind of feel like you're boiling over. Like, oh, I'm so upset. But there are ways that we can do this in a non-violent and respectful manner. And so we're going to go over some things today, some questions and answers. And I want you to think about your answers, and then I'm going to go over some scenarios with you to kind of help guide you through situations like that. And of course, I always want this to be as open a discussion as possible. So, if you ever need to talk to me personally or anything like that, you always have my phone number, and we can go over these specifically, you know, when you're feeling upset with somebody and how do you deal with that situation. And most of the time, the answer is open communication, really talking to people and expressing how you feel, how they're making you feel. Um, because sometimes people really don't know. They assume everything's fine, and if we don't say anything, then it doesn't get very far because they're like, no, I had no idea you were feeling that way. So keeping open lines of discussion is important as to telling people how you're feeling. Say, I'm feeling frustrated, and be very specific with what, you know. But most of the time, it's not anger that is coming from; it's frustration because you don't know how to handle a certain situation, and you're feeling frustrated, and then that can boil over into anger. But all pretty much all anger stems from frustration. So let's go over some of these. And there's quite a few, so I'll go over them. But again, I want this to be an open discussion. So let me know which ones of these you might be needing more help with, and we'll go through it. But maybe as we go through all of them, some of your questions will be answered as we continue through. So, number one question. Um, do you ever get mad or angry with somebody? And the honest response for that, I don't know of any person in my entire life that has never gotten angry at anyone. I know people that have pretended to try, but eventually they get angry too. But one of the most important things we can do is to learn healthy and good ways to deal with that anger. Or frustration, really, is what it is. And sometimes it's hard to know what to do and what a good thing to do um, when you're really angry. So when that frustration boils over into anger, it's sometimes tough to know what to do. That's why it's important that we talk about it so we have a plan for when we are mad. And a lot of times you'll feel yourself getting to that point. That's usually the best time to start with a discussion. Or, it doesn't have to specifically be with the person or thing that you're upset with at the time, but talk to somebody about it and say, hey, I'm feeling this way. What should I do? Somebody you trust. And then, talk. And then, but at some point, you're definitely going to need to talk to the source of your frustration. Now, this is a good question here. Is it okay to be mad or angry at someone? Some people might say no, but the answer is yes. That's fine. It's a natural way of feeling. Everyone gets mad at someone else sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. So sometimes when we get angry with someone, we argue with him or her. Does arguing, yelling at someone help solve the problem? It No, it doesn't. It usually makes most people angrier and does not help. Um, it might let out some of your frustrations. You feel like screaming at a person. I feel better, but it didn't really solve anything. You probably just made that person feel kind of the same way you're feeling. So, and that's the thing is argument, discussion, and argument. There's a fine line. If it's something to bring up and somebody's being defensive, always take breaks, but say, this is something I really need to talk about. Like, it's been on my mind, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to listen to me. But you need to listen to them too. It's a two-way thing. Just because you're upset with them doesn't mean you're right, that they've made you upset. They have a whole other set, a point of view as well. So listen. It's a give and take. Listen openly and receptive. Don't just or whatever. You gotta actually actively listen. And if you want to really solve this problem and not be angry. And what can you say when you're mad at somebody instead of arguing with them? And a lot of things you could say, I want to tell you why I'm mad. Let's talk. And again, back to what I was just saying. Let's talk about it. Let's have an open discussion. And, I'm letting you know right now I'm upset, or I'm frustrated, and this is what I'm frustrated with. I'd like you to help me with it. Now we have to figure out what is the difference between arguing and talking. What is the key difference there? So arguing is when both people talk, sometimes loudly, without really listening to the other person. So talking over each other. So that's arguing. Talking is when you say in a calm voice what has made you mad and how you feel, and then listening to the other person tell you what made him or her mad and how he or she feels. So if you're going to solve a problem, by talking it out with a person, you have to be willing to listen to the other person. So some of this is a little redundant, but it's so very true. You want to make sure you're listening. It's never one person's, nobody's ever completely right in a situation where people are upset. Both people have a point of view, and we need to be able to solve the situation for both people. And be willing to listen, but also be willing to share. So sometimes people are so mad that they cannot talk calmly to the other person or listen very well. So what can you say to someone you are mad at if you are too mad to talk? Now that happens at times. I've seen it happen before where it's like people will throw things. People will just kind of stomp around. And you can tell they're way past. So we all have a baseline of where we normally act. And when somebody's off their baseline, there's signs about that. And throwing things and stomping around. It's like, hey, this person's very much off their baseline right now. And it's good for you to recognize somebody if you see somebody who's feeling that way and you can tell that you're the person that's been frustrating them and you don't know why, to say, hey, we should talk about this, but let's wait till we're both in a good place to talk, okay? Let's take a break and we'll talk. And if it's you and you really are that frustrated with somebody and you can't control it, it's best to say, I'm too mad to talk right now, let's talk later. And most of the time, you should give them a timeline. Luckily, we have these wonderful devices that not everybody uses, but we have our phones, and if you're too mad, you can say, hey, I can't talk right now, I'm too mad. Let's talk later. But then you want to set a time, say, hey, let's, I'm feeling better now. Can we talk in half an hour? And find out if that works. Okay, let's say you're really mad at someone. Is it okay to call them a bad name or swear at them? Okay. No. It's in an argument that's called, I think it's ad hominem, where you're attacking the person, but not what's actually frustrating you. So you're just calling names, and it's no way to actually have a discussion with somebody because you're just hurting their feelings just to make yourself feel better. Like, demonizing the other person isn't going to help because we're all people, and you wouldn't want somebody demonizing you either in a situation. It's disrespectful, it's hurtful, and it doesn't help. It usually only makes things get worse, and especially when you want something to get better, calling somebody names they might not ever talk to you again, and then you'll never have that chance to really figure out what you're frustrated with, or to discuss what you're frustrated with, because you decided to hurt them instead of treat them like a person. So no, it's never okay to call names. And a lot of times I see this happening with people, friends. They joke around and say, oh, they're bullying me and they're calling me names. Yeah, you guys, a lot of people at program, y'all, sorry, it's not all guys, call each other names. And you say you're joking around, but you don't stop. And then I never see people walk away from each other. And as long as you let it continue, well, then you're letting it continue. If you really do want it to stop, and people do call you names a lot, and that's what frustrates you, talk to that person, say, I really don't like this, and if you don't stop, I don't think we can be friends anymore, because it's very hurtful. But again, have that discussion. But when you're just mad at somebody, and it's usually somebody that you've gotten along with a lot, and you're like, I'm finally going to call him every name I've ever thought of. It doesn't help anything. It just makes things much, much worse. Is it a crime to call someone a bad name or use bad language? Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, well, I don't know why it's in here. Because, of course, no, it's not a crime. We have free speech. But it will not make the problem get better. It will only make it worse, and it doesn't feel good when someone else feels bad. Okay, give me 1 second. I need to take care of something real fast. Okay, where were we? So, is it a crime to call someone a bad name or use bad language? So again, no, it's not a crime. It hurts when people call us bad names, and you probably feel bad later that you did. So it's another good reason not to do it. And also, like I said before, that person may not want to be your friend anymore. Totally understandable. I know that, I hit a point in my life where I'm like, yeah, if that's going to be the way you're going to treat me, I really don't need anything to do with you anymore. There are plenty of people that I could spend better time with. Even just myself. It's better than being abused by somebody. So, should you call 911 just because you're mad at someone? No. 911 is only for emergencies. Being mad is not an emergency. But there are helplines if you're so mad that you need to talk to somebody. There are lines out there that you can call and, hopefully get the help that you need. And you can talk to somebody, say, I'm so mad, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, and you can talk to somebody. But it's usually best to talk to that person. Let's see. Okay, so this was all put together by a police department. But sometimes, so some of these questions, though they may seem strange, they do happen in life. So I'm going to go over them. Should you steal something from someone you are mad at? And this does happen sometimes. Sometimes people are like, hey, this person's become that useless to me that I feel like I can rob them or take something from them to make me feel better. No, you should never steal things from other people, even if you're mad. If you take things that don't belong to people, people won't trust you and they won't like you. You can lose friends. It's also a crime, and you can be arrested. No one has the right to take things that belong to other people. So that part, yes, that is a crime. So language, no, not a crime. Stealing things from people, definitely a crime. So is it okay to call someone you are mad at on the phone and hang up on them or threaten them? No. So that is called harassment. And they can tell the phone company and the police. The phone company can tell the police where the call came from, and you can lose your right to use the phone, and you can get arrested. So, we used to call them prank calls, but, people do that, harass people. It's also done online or even through text and things like that, so if you're doing those things and things can be recorded, you should be very careful with that. And it's also a form of bullying. So don't hang up on people. Don't threaten people. Um, and don't harass people with a phone or any other way. It doesn't help anything. You're just making a bad situation worse. So if you're really mad at someone and tell them you can talk to them right now, what can you do to get rid of your anger? And again, it's not so much anger as frustration, but what can you do to get not rid of it, but to calm it down a bit, to bring yourself. Remember we talked about that baseline. If you're off your baseline, how do we get back down to that baseline? Well, you can walk away, which is the best thing. If it's at program, you can ask one of the staff to move you and say, hey, I can't be in this space with this person. I need to be away from them. And we'll figure that out. If it's at home, go to another part of the house. So you could go to your room and draw or make pictures. You could cry if you feel like it. You could hold a stuffed animal. I don't have any more anymore, but when I was a kid, I had lots of them. You can listen to your music. The next one is something that I like. You can clean your room. It's always therapeutic. You get your space around you clean, and you start to feel better. Watch TV or a movie. Probably a nice movie, not an angry movie. Just a suggestion. Take a nap. Exercise. Get the blood flowing. Close your eyes and think of someplace nice. Take a shower or a bath. Call a friend and talk. Go to a movie. Work in the yard. Take a walk around the block. That's what my grandparents always did if they were upset. And if you take a walk around the block, tell someone so they know where you're going. And if it's really late at night, I wouldn't go for a walk. Do something else from the list. Only because sometimes, especially if you're mad and you go outside at night, somebody else could make you mad and things could get worse. And if you do one of the things that we talked about, pretty soon you will feel better. You might even be enjoying yourself and have a good time. And I would try different ones. Sometimes one thing might not work, so try another one and see. And eventually you'll kind of figure out what works when you're off your baseline and how you can get back down. Like, I need to go do this right now. And let the person know, I need to go do this right now because I'm feeling frustrated. Okay, here's an important one. Is it okay to hit someone you are mad at? No, never. Never. If you hit someone, you might get hurt, they might get hurt, and you can get arrested and could go to jail. It's domestic violence. If you hit someone, they might not be your friend anymore. If you get hurt, you might have to go to the hospital. You might have to move because people think you might hurt someone again. Then you have to talk to the police, who might arrest you and take you to jail. And it's true, people with disabilities go to jail too. It is never okay to hit somebody. Keep your hands and feet to yourself always. Somebody else is not your punching bag. It doesn't matter how frustrated you are. That's why we need to repeat the steps up there. Notice when you're getting off your baseline. Get yourself back down to your baseline. Talk to the person that is the source of your frustration, and then we can remain on our baseline. But make sure that you're talking as much as you can with the person, or show them. If you're not a verbal person, and this is for parents as well, if somebody's not verbal, then what you want to do is you want to say, hey, show me. Have pictures of things and say, is this making, and have pictures of a happy face, a sad face, a frustrated face, like, I don't know, an angry face, have pictures. And show, is this making you mad? What is the source? You need to get to the source. What is making somebody mad? To the point where somebody might hit. But again, it is never okay to hit. Get back down to your baseline. Figure out what works for you. Talk to a friend. But then also, eventually, you need to confront that source of frustration and learn how to deal with that so these things don't crop up again. Do you know that other people get upset when two people fight? And it's true. So you might be affecting a lot more people than you know. When you get mad at one person, other people are there seeing it too. So if you and a person are fighting, you're not the only two people get upset. Your family, staff, other housemates, friends, and other people who see you or hear other people fighting, it hurts a lot of people. So remember that it's not just you that it's affecting. I mean, your frustration can affect other people, but don't let that burden you. You have the right to feel frustrated, but it's also our job to figure out what to do with that frustration when we are feeling that way and take care of it. But just remember, there are other people and people you probably care about that care about you as well, that want to help you, but we have to figure out what the best way to do that is. So, is it okay to protect yourself if someone hits you or tries to hit you? So, so that means, is it okay to fight back or protect yourself? So the best thing to do is get away from someone who's trying to hit you. Then get help. Go tell your staff, family, call the police. If you need to hit or push someone to get away, that is all right. But if you choose to stay and fight, you're not protecting yourself or keeping your body safe. You are fighting. It doesn't matter if they hit you first. If you stay in a fight, you are just as responsible as the person who hit first. Yeah, but it's best not to fight. But it is also okay to figure out how to get away and say, get away from me, and leave as soon as you can. If you see that somebody's going to try to do that, it's best to keep yourself safe. I work in different places and I've been around different things. I've been around my own family. What I know is when people start throwing things at me, I'm going to leave that situation because something could hit me in the head. If they break other stuff can be bought again. Other stuff can be replaced. Other stuff can be, even if it has sentimental value, your own physical body and you being around is a lot more important than some physical little thing, Like, oh, don't you dare touch my G.I. Joe. That's my favorite G. Or whatever it could be. That thing doesn't matter. Your safety is what matters. So just get away from that situation. And if it really doesn't calm down, then you should call the police. Is it okay to hit your staff or family member? So no, of course not. Never hit your family members. You might get suspended. Yep. And so if it was a staff, you might get suspended from program if you hit a staff member or work, or you might have to move from your home, or you could even be arrested. So you shouldn't hit staff, and definitely don't hit a family member. It doesn't help anything. And we have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to fighting that program. So, I mean, depending on the situation, what happened, but pretty much, we need to keep our hands and our feet to ourselves at all times. Is it okay to hit yourself, bite yourself, or bang your head against the wall or on the ground? This does happen sometimes when people are extremely frustrated. So, no, it's not okay to do that. If you hurt yourself, you may need first aid, or you might even need to be taken to the hospital. You're only hurting yourself more. And again, that means you've gone really far past your baseline to where nothing is making sense at that time. And this is why we have to recognize as we're starting to get away and say, oh, I need to get back down here. And so when you're getting that point, you really need to walk away and do some of the things from the list. Do something that makes you happy. Do something that will calm you down. There are sounds you can listen to. I mean, there are plenty of things. I found this thing where you can just listen to the rain on your phone, and it's like 10-hour loop. Find something that really makes you feel good and happy. But okay, so this has been a long class, a long safety training, but it's important. So again, any questions you have, please ask. And I hope that I can help in any way that I can, if ever needs be. But I would really hope that this could help you learn to help yourself in your situation if you're ever feeling frustrated, or if somebody's frustrated with you, what you can do to help them get past that frustration as well. Anyway, have a great day, everybody, and I will talk to you later.